Welcome back to Reddit Tales. Today's story is about a guy who watched his girlfriend spend an entire wedding night wrapped up in her old flame, then insult him for noticing. As you listen, ask yourself what you would have done the moment respect disappeared. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. The air in the ballroom was thick with champagne and gardenias. From my spot at table 7, I watched Sarah and her new husband sway under twinkling lights, looking at each other like they'd just invented love. I was genuinely happy for them. But weddings do this thing where they hold up a mirror to your own relationship. You start checking for cracks you've been ignoring. You start noticing what's missing. Across the dance floor, K.H. Lowe's laugh cut through the music. Bright and sharp, the kind of laugh that pulls attention without trying. She was with Mark, an old friend from college who'd flown in for the wedding. He had his hand on the small of her back, guiding her through the crowd toward the bar. She was looking up at him with a softness I used to think was reserved for me. I glanced down at my phone. 9:17 p.m. The last text I'd sent an hour ago sat unread. Grabbing seats at table 7. Saved you a piece of lemon cake. A server stopped by and cleared empty champagne flutes. Your better half, he asked with a friendly smile. She's making the rounds, I said, forcing one back. The band shifted to a slower song. The happy couple cleared the floor and other partners drifted in, and that's when I saw it. K.H. Lowe and Mark stepped right into the center like they'd been waiting for the cue. He pulled her close, one hand firm on her lower back, the other clasping hers tight against his chest. Not the loose, polite hold you use with an old friend. This was something else. She melted into him. Cheek against his shoulder, a peaceful smile on her face, the kind of smile you don't wear when you're just being friendly. A cold knot tightened in my stomach. A voice murmured beside me. Dude. It was Ben, Sarah's cousin. He nodded toward the dance floor with raised eyebrows. Everything cool? Yeah, I said too quickly. Old friends. He patted my shoulder and it felt less like reassurance and more like condolence before he walked off. I watched them through 3 full songs. Every time the music changed, they laughed, exchanged a few words and stayed exactly where they were. He'd lean down and whisper in her ear. She'd swat his chest like it was playful, but her fingers always lingered too long. I even saw Sarah glance over from the sweetheart table. A tiny frown creased her forehead before she got pulled back into conversation. This wasn't jealousy. Jealousy is hot and messy. This was colder. It was the slow realization that I was watching a performance, and I was the only person in the room who understood it wasn't meant for me. I finally pushed back my chair and crossed the room. I found K.H. Lowe outside the ladies' room, reapplying lip gloss in a gilded mirror. She jumped when she saw me in the reflection, then rolled her eyes and turned back to her makeup like I'd interrupted something important. Alex, she said. Hey, you finally decided to socialize. I've been at our table for an hour, I said. I texted you. My phone died, she replied, like that explained the rest of the night. What's up? You look tense. She said it like it was a flaw in my personality. I took a breath and kept my voice low. Are you okay? You've been out there with Mark for like an hour. People are starting to notice. She snapped the cap onto her lip gloss and finally turned to face me, exhaling like I was exhausting. God, she said, could you be any more pathetic? It's just dancing. He's an old friend. If you were more confident, you wouldn't be so threatened. The words landed like slaps because they weren't just insulting. They were rehearsed, like she'd used them before, like she'd been waiting for the moment she could deploy them. There's a specific kind of disrespect that doesn't make you angry right away. It makes you quiet. This isn't about confidence, I said, and my voice came out calmer than I expected. It's about respect, for me and for Sarah's wedding. Her eyes flashed with contempt. She leaned in close and her perfume hit me. The one I'd bought her for her birthday. It suddenly smelled foreign, almost acidic. Maybe you should try being more fun, she hissed. More like him. Then she brushed past me and walked away, straight back to Mark. She put a hand on his arm, rose on her toes, and whispered something in his ear. He looked over her head, found my eyes across the room, and gave me a slow, smug smile. Then he lifted 2 fingers in a lazy salute. And K.H. Lowe laughed again, that bright, sharp laugh, following his gaze like I was the punchline. That was the moment something in me shut off, not in a dramatic way, not with rage, more like a switch flipping. The music, the laughter, the clinking glasses, it all faded into background noise. And in that silent clarity, I understood something I didn't want to understand. This wasn't a one-off mistake. This was who she was when she thought she had the power. I watched them for another moment, and it didn't even hurt anymore. It was just information, a final piece of evidence in a case I hadn't realized I was building. I turned my back on them and walked across the ballroom with one clear goal: exit with dignity. I found Sarah near the head table. She was accepting a hug from her great aunt. She caught my eye over the woman's shoulder, her smile bright but questioning, and I waited until the hug ended. "Sarah," I said, steady, "beautiful ceremony, you look incredible." "Thank you," she beamed, and then her eyes flicked behind me immediately, searching the room. "Where's K.H. Lowe?" "Having fun." "She's thoroughly occupied," I said, and the flatness in my tone made her focus snap back to my face. I offered a small, weary smile. "I'm really sorry to duck out early. I've got an apocalyptic migraine. I need to lie down in a dark room before my head actually explodes." Her expression changed instantly from bride to concerned friend. Sarah knew me. She also knew where K.H. Lowe had been all night. Her eyes drifted past me toward the bar, and something softened in her face, not judgment, understanding, and pity. "Oh, Alex," she said quietly. "Are you okay to drive?" "I'm fine," I said. "I just need quiet." I leaned in and hugged her, a real hug, solid and steady. "Congratulations again. I'm truly happy for you." She hugged me back a little longer than normal and whispered, "Call me tomorrow." It wasn't a suggestion. I nodded, squeezed her hand once, and walked out. I didn't look back, not once. The cool night air hit my face in the parking lot like a blessing, clean, silent, untainted. I got into my car and closed the door. The silence inside was absolute. I didn't turn on music, I didn't call anyone. I just sat with my hands on the wheel for a moment, letting the quiet settle over me. Then I drove home alone. Streetlights blurred into golden streaks. I didn't have some dramatic inner speech running. No rage. No bargaining. The part of me that used to try to fix things had been removed in that hallway when she called me pathetic. When I pulled into the driveway, the house was dark. I went inside, kicked off my dress shoes, hung up my suit jacket like it was any other night, and walked through rooms that suddenly felt like a museum exhibit. Her closet side was open, dresses and shoes spilling out. Her perfume bottle sat on the vanity. I looked at it all and felt nothing. That's the part I didn't expect. The absence. I changed into a t-shirt and sweatpants, brushed my teeth, and got into bed. Her side was empty and cold. I stared at the ceiling, waiting for pain to arrive like it had an appointment. It didn't. Instead, exhaustion took over, heavy, bone deep. The last thought I had before sleep was simple: I'll need boxes. The sound of a key fumbling in the lock jerked me awake. Sunlight streamed through the blinds. I checked the time on my phone. 2:17 p.m. I'd slept for over 12 hours. The front door slammed. Footsteps in high heels clicked across the hardwood. I stayed still, listening to the aftermath of her night. The sigh. A purse dropping onto the console table. The fridge opening, then closing. Our bedroom door creaked open. K.H. Lowe stood there, silhouetted by the hall light. She was still in the emerald green dress from the wedding, now wrinkled. Makeup smudged, tired in a way that tried to look glamorous but didn't. She blinked at me like she expected an argument. "You're still in bed," she said, raspy. "I tried calling you like 10 times. I sat up slowly. My gaze went past her to the empty cardboard box on the floor by the closet. I'd brought it in last night, a quiet promise. "My phone was off," I said. She stepped into the room with her arms crossed. "So you just left. You couldn't find me to say goodbye. You made me get an Uber home. That was embarrassing. I finally looked at her fully, and I let her see what she wasn't prepared to deal with. Nothing. No anger, no hurt, no emotion for her to push against. "What are you doing?" she asked, and her eyes darted to the box. "Packing." I stood up and walked to her side of the closet. I started with shoes, placing them neatly into the bottom of the box. Sandals, boots, the black heels she wore on our first anniversary. Then I moved to dresses, sliding them off hangers one by one. "Packing what?" she demanded. "For what?" "Your things," I said. A note of panic crept into her voice. "You're kicking me out." "The lease is in my name," I said, still calm. "It's not working out." "I'll Venmo you your half of the deposit." It was the clinical tone that cracked her. Not rage, not a fight, just finality. "You can't do this," she snapped, stepping closer. "After 3 years, this is how you end it, by throwing my clothes in a box. What is wrong with you?" I didn't answer. I turned back and kept packing. She stood there waiting for a reaction that never came, then let out a frustrated sound and stormed out. I heard the bathroom door slam and the shower turn on. An hour later, right on time, her sister Lisa pulled up. Lisa marched in like she owned the place, voice already loaded. "What's the big emergency, Alex? I had to cancel, eh?" Her words died when she saw me packing quietly and KH sitting red-eyed on the couch in her bathrobe. "He's having a psychotic break," KH announced, gesturing at me like I was a display. "He's kicking me out because I danced with a friend at a wedding." Lisa looked at me. "Is that true?" I stopped for a moment and met her eyes. "The boxes are here. My decision is final. I'd appreciate it if you help her expedite this." Lisa didn't like me, but even she seemed thrown by how steady I was. She shrugged and turned to KH. "Your loss," she said. "Come on, let's go." They packed in a flurry of slammed drawers and muttered insults. I stayed out of the way. When the last box was carried to the car, KH stood by the front door with her keys in her hand. She looked at me with one last attempt at control in her eyes. "You're really going to let me walk out that door?" I met her gaze. "Yes." The word stole the breath from her lungs. For a split second, the act dropped. Shock showed. Then fear. She opened her mouth to say something else, but nothing came out. She turned and walked out, closing the door behind her with a quiet, definitive click. The silence that filled the house afterward wasn't hollow anymore. It was peaceful. The updates came in over the next few days, not from her, but from the world. Sarah texted first. "Hey, just checking in. Heard from a few people what really went down at the wedding. I'm so sorry, Alex. She made a huge mistake. We're all on your side." Ben texted too. "That Mark guy is a total tool. Apparently he's got a whole girlfriend back in Chicago. Ghosted KH the second his flight landed." A week later, Sarah told me the friend group had distanced themselves, that KH tried to play the victim, that it wasn't working. I read the messages, appreciated the support, and deleted them. Their drama was no longer mine. The fallout was her problem. I went back to living quietly. Work, home, meals for one. I bought a bookshelf and started reading again. The world widened slowly, like my life had been on pause and finally started playing. 2 weeks later, a text came through from KH. "I can't believe you turned everyone against me. You ruined my reputation. We need to talk." No apology, just blame. I didn't reply. I stirred pasta sauce and let the notification fade on its own. A month after that, a voicemail at 1:17 a.m. Her voice was slurred and crying. "Mark was a mistake. He had a girlfriend the whole time. Everyone hates me. Sarah won't return my calls. The girls blocked me. I miss you. You're the only good thing I had." I saved it for one reason only: proof. A receipt. Then I deleted it. 6 weeks after she left, she showed up outside my gym as I was unlocking my car. She looked smaller than I remembered. A jacket too thin for the cold, puffy eyes, no armor left. "Please," she said, "just talk to me for 5 minutes." I didn't move. I didn't invite conversation. I just looked at her with the same calm. "Alex," she said, like saying my name could pull me back. The tears started then. Real ones. "I made a huge mistake," she said. "I lost everything. My friends, you, I'm so alone." I watched her like you watch weather from behind thick glass. Not cruel, just distant. "I know," I said. She blinked, stunned. "What? That's it? I know, don't you care? We were together for 3 years." I glanced toward the gym doors as they opened behind us, music spilling out into the cold. Then I looked back at her. "That night at the wedding," I said, "you told me to be more like him." She frowned, confused. "So I did," I continued. "I became a guy who doesn't get threatened, doesn't get pathetic, and doesn't look back." Understanding hit her face like a wave, then anger tried to rush in and take control. "You're a heartless bastard," she spat. "I hate you." I nodded once, calm as ever. "I know." I got into my car and started the engine. I didn't look in the mirror as I drove away. 3 months later, I met Sarah and her husband for coffee. It was bright inside, full of normal conversation and gentle clatter. "You look good," Sarah said. "Really good." "Hiking," I said. "It's quiet, no one bothers you on a mountain." We laughed. It was easy. Then Sarah hesitated and said she heard KH Lowe moved back to her hometown, that she couldn't make it work here after everything. I nodded. "Okay," I said. Sarah searched my face for pain and found none. "Okay," she repeated, almost relieved. "Yeah," I said. "I hope she finds what she's looking for." And I meant it, not in a warm way and not in a cruel way. In the only way that mattered. Her story wasn't mine anymore. Now, here's what I took from it. Lesson 1. If your partner treats your basic feelings like an inconvenience, the relationship is already unstable. Lesson 2. Public disrespect is still disrespect. Being at a wedding doesn't make it harmless. Lesson 3. Someone who insults you for wanting respect will eventually punish you for having self-respect. Lesson 4. Leaving calmly is not weakness. It's clarity. Lesson 5. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference, and it shows up when you finally stop negotiating with someone who won't value you. What would you have done after being called pathetic for speaking up? And do you think walking out without a scene was the right move? Share your thoughts in the comments.